Ever since Benz and C teamed up with Daimler in the mid-1920s to form Daimler-Benz, the company has been renowned for its superlative engineering prowess and its luxury and ride comfort, all embraced together in a single package. These are cars that the German powers that be in the 1930s drove, and by the 1960s, when the 600 Grosser was a thing — I apologise for the wind noise, by the way, it is unbelievably windy today — but when the 600 Grosser was a thing, every nefarious and corrupt dictator in the world owned one, even though they didn't drive them. But Mercedes have gone through various transitions since then, and apart from a brief hiccup with Chrysler, they are now making some quite incredible cars again. Modern EVs using lithium-ion battery packs really started becoming a thing about 20 years ago, and the technology has improved, the electric motors have become more powerful, and the battery packs themselves store a lot more power. Mercedes showed off its Vision EQ concept in 2017, and it followed that with a new line of electric vehicles known as the EQ series. The first was that EQ Vision in production form, which is this, the EQS. It debuted in 2021 on an all-new EV specific platform. There's also an EQE, which is a bit smaller, but uses the same platform. Now, you may have guessed, but the S-Class and E-Class follow that general rationale. So this is effectively the equivalent of an S-Class. I don't know a huge amount about EVs. However, it's a changing world, and EVs are rapidly becoming a thing. The technology is constantly evolving, and I'm very curious to see what it's all about. So I've borrowed this EQS from my friend Marty. He's at Fred Martin Mercedes in Austintown, Ohio. And I'm going to sort of look around it. We're then going to take it for a drive, and I'm going to let you know what I think about it. There's that wind again. I wasn't expecting this today, I'm sorry, but I'm no weatherman. I'm Darren Walker, and this is Auto Atlantica. So like its smaller sibling, the EQE, the EQS uses the new EVA platform. And in EQS guise, we start off with two models in the range, which use a rear-wheel drive rear motor setup. That's the 350, which offers 225 horsepower, and the 450 Plus with about 325 horsepower. Then we get to the all-wheel drive models, which this one starts with the 450, that's this one, and these are a dual motor setup, and this has 355 horsepower and a whopping 590 pound-feet of torque. Then you get up to the 500 model, the 580, and by the time you get to the range-topping AMG 58, that was nicely timed, you are in the realm of 750 horsepower plus. The rear is actually a liftback. See if we can open that. There we go. So in the rear, we've got this liftback, which offers a cavernous amount of room. This is where it differs from a regular S-Class. These use EV Go chargers. Here's the, there you go. There's the charge door right there. Mercedes are going onto the NACS system, that's the Tesla system, so they're going to be having Tesla ports as well. Like most Mercedes and many cars these days, you've got door handles that come out to greet you and then retract themselves when they've not been in use for a while. When the car is locked, the mirrors retract themselves. like so. Overall, it's a very sleek design. The jury's still out for me though, I must confess. I would have liked to have seen Mercedes maybe give the car a little bit more character. I just think that it looks a little bit generic. There are some beautiful touches like this illuminated grille, which is full of little Mercedes-Benz stars, for instance. Now for 2025, they have changed the grille and given it lines, and they've given it a three-pointed star that stands up to make you feel a bit more Mercedes-like. But I do like this chrome scallop along the bottom of the doors, and the whole shape, this bow shape, this teardrop shape, reminds me a lot of the old TLS, as does the rear with the slimline lights. So you've got two main screens, one for the driver and then a general center infotainment screen. And then there's this really beautiful sort of contoured finish, which is actually a $500 option. We'll go into the options in a bit. As another option, you can opt for a single hyperscreen, which is 3 screens all in one swathe of glass that goes all the way across the dashboard. So that is expensive. This car does not have it, but it's got enough technical gadgets for us to look at for one day. This is the kind of the screen I like. There's a sports screen, there's an understated screen as well, and then you can have it set on navigation if you want to, so the navigation is right in front of you. And then there's all sorts of assistance. So with the assistance, what that does, when you're on a freeway, it shows you the other cars that are around you as well. Quite like those classic gauges. Reminds me of the sit up and beg gauges that were on Mercedes in the 1960s. And then in the middle, we've got a full Google Maps, which will tell you where the nearest chargers are as well. So if we press this button, it will show you where all the charge points and EV Connects, Electrify Americas, etc. are in the area. I would imagine it will show you all the Tesla ones when that comes online as well. And you can choose between your different types of charger here. Let's just zoom in there. So we've got 50 watts, less than 50 watts. So that's going to be, includes some DCFCs, but mainly level 2 chargers at hotels, 50 to 149, and then 150 and over, which is really what you want. But this thing has some amazing toys. So let's the navigation is navigation, but it's the EQ stuff that really gets my candle lit. So this is basically the range. We've got 94% charge right now. That gives us about 318 miles of range. That's what it's telling us. Mercedes themselves say that this car will get 420 miles of range. I don't know what the real world range is. This tells you what your consumption is. You can actually open the socket flap from here as well. This is it's got deactivated pre-temperature control. That's for the battery preconditioning. It does it itself. You can switch that off. So for the radio, you've got you know, your various stations here, and it's all got a variety of graphics to it. There's a comfort setting. I'll get back to that. On the comfort setting, you've got all these various massage settings for the seats. So you can choose between the driver and passenger. So if I put the driver on, I've got these nice sort of wafty massages going through the seats. That's enough to put me to sleep. This is all the ambient light settings, so you can change these. So if we put this one on, it'll all change to green. Change it back to the purple. This information screen shows you pictorially how much of the battery life is left. So there's all sorts of different settings here, like for instance the camera, the front radar when you are coming up to a junction, it will actually activate a video of the junction and the traffic lights, so you can see the traffic lights more closely on the screen. And parking as well. This car will read traffic signs, for example, and it will even use that radar system to pay tolls automatically, so you don't need a transponder actually in the windscreen. This is a Burmester sound system. I honestly can't remember how we managed to get into it, so I'm going to try and find this. Yeah, that wasn't it. But in any case, I'm not going to bore you with this, but it's quite something. It will play like a generic tune with various instruments, and you can focus the sound based on a particular type of instrument, whether it be drums, whether it be strings, and then set it as your own setting. So when you play any type of music, you get those preferences in the sound come through. Now, as I've said, I'm pretty new to EVs in general, so you're going to have to excuse my ignorance and lack of knowledge, but I know enough to get me by. But this plethora of electronics I do find a little intimidating. From the handles that come out to greet you, I find them sometimes a little bit weird. I'll go to grab onto it and it will retract. I don't know why, but then it'll come back out and I try to open another door and it's locked. So it takes me a while to figure those things out, and I think that's the case with this car in general. It's a learning process, and this is what Marty was saying. For instance, there are voice commands that you can use you can tell the car where you want it to go on the navigation. You can change the climate control by telling it what temperature you want the car, or the level of the fan. You can also tell it to change lanes. This car has semi-autonomous capabilities. So there's two microphones up here that you can do all that with. Everything is like a touch slide control, so including here for the sunroof, it's got a panoramic sunroof, and you can shut the blind just by swiping this and open it the same way, and then you can just push it and it'll go into tilt and then fully open mode. It's a very, very different experience, is this. I do like this sort of barn door style center console. That's very nice. And then you can close this, so you got this like piano black effect all the way across, and you've got cup holders in here, which if you push it, you can put various sizes of cups in there. This is for keys, so you can lock things away, and then there's a couple of USB-A's down there. But let's take this for a drive. We're at 93% efficiency. Oh, it's telling me goodbye. It's telling me it's not ready to drive. Now it's ready to drive. Obviously, it's whisper quiet. It's very smooth. Off the bat, I love the driving position in this car. You actually feel like you're in a much smaller car than you are. The car reads road signs, so it's just read the 15-mile-an-hour sign, speed limit sign that we're in, because we're in a park right now, and it's flashed it up on the screen here. The other thing that's really impressive for a car of this size is the turning circle. It's very tight. I will plug the numbers for the turning circle up on the screen, but it's very maneuverable, and I like that a lot. Obviously, it's a one-speed gearbox in this, single speed, but with 355 horsepower on tap, once you are up to speed, you've got plenty of power, and with 550 pound-feet of torque, its pulling power is quite amazing. It's very much a 21st century take, I think, on a luxury car. So the acceleration for a car of this size and weight is quite something. It's got some oomph behind it. It soaks up the bumps beautifully, but the ride is fabulous. It wafts along and it soaks up those bumps, but at the same time, the handling in it is just tremendous. You really do feel like you're in a much smaller car. Unfortunately, I can't really sort of give it the beans, but I can assure you that this car can motor. And in this car park here, I mean, I can turn around on a dime. The visibility is not bad. It's really what I expected for a coupe-like body shell. You've got very slitty windows here, but the mirrors have got a nice field of view. Actually, out the back, you don't have too bad of rearward visibility, but obviously with the way that this car slopes at the back, you absolutely need to rely on those backup cameras. All the controls are really nice and to hand. It's nice that you've got some physical buttons here, so to speak, for some of the essential elements. I would prefer it if the steering wheel controls were physical buttons as opposed to touch activated. I mean, for instance, the volume, you just slide your finger across here or up and down here. Not quite sure what to make of that. I prefer something a bit more sort of like physical, but it does work well. It functions really well, as you'd expect. It's a Mercedes. The ventilation is absolutely fantastic, and I love how they've seamlessly integrated it across the top of the dashboard, as well as these very traditional round vents which are common throughout Mercedes cars right now. I can't remember the size of the wheels. I think they're 20s, but I'll flag it up on the screen. Considering these wheels are so large and low profile, the ride is really good. Now, Marty was telling me he prefers the very simple screen setup for the dashboard, which gives you, all the information that you need for the instruments, but just the essential stuff. So there's not too much going on. I kind of agree with him on that, actually. Even with these traditional dials, there's a fair amount going on here. But everything about this car is just beautifully put together. So yeah, would I buy one of these? If I could afford one, absolutely. This particular one, as spec'd out as it is right now, is $115,000, and that's a hill of money. But yeah, as far as a traditional sedan is concerned, or even though it's a liftback, I would absolutely love this thing. These seats are absolutely amazing. The headrests, I think, are some of the best that I've ever experienced. Anyway, everything about this car is a unique experience. But let's go through some of the specs. So the base price of this EQS 450 4MATIC, and remember the all-wheel drive 4MATICs are the dual motor ones. So there are 208 kilowatt hour motors that drive this thing. So the anthracite relief optic trim, which is this, that's $540. Wheel locking bolts, first aid kit, energizing air control plus with HEPA filter. So that's basically an ionizer for the air conditioning, $450. This has got, these are 21-inch wheels. They are AMG multi-spokes. The multi-contour seats with massage, those wheels are $1,100, as are these multi-contour seats with massage. The heated steering wheel is $250. The active ambient lighting is $590, and the rapid heating front seats are $450. And then the exterior package has this AMG line exterior package. So that's a special front bumper with high gloss back accents. There's an A-wing trim in the chrome, wheel arch linings and side sill panels with high gloss black, AMG line rear bumper with high gloss black and chrome accents. And that's it. That is what you get for a total of $115,425. So there we are. That's my very brief and very crude insight into this amazing 2024 Mercedes-Benz EQS. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I've really enjoyed my time with it. It's different, and I think that sums up EV ownership. It's a new experience completely, and there's a new set of rules in which you have to follow. I'm Darren, and this is Auto Atlantica.